The Nightbeat starts right now.
Cases of COVID-19 more than doubling once again. Metro Health now confirming we have 25 cases here in Bexar County. This all coming as San Antonio is set to experience restrictions on restraints and a shutdown in businesses in just a few hours.
Yeah, Bexar County's declaration is less restrictive when it comes to restaurants. During tonight's News at 9, I asked Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolff what he thought about the rise in the number of cases just tonight.
I think it's going to continue to go up. The more that you test, and we knew that, the more that you test, the more that you're going to have COVID-19. So I expect those numbers to continue to go up. I'm not sure where this stops. I think we'll know a little bit more within the next few days.
Judge Wolff advocating that people continue to practice social distancing, but he is not in favor of shutting down restaurants to just take out or drive-through service like the city did today. We'll take a closer look at the declarations between county and city and the differences. But first, a closer look at the number of cases we have so far.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the cases are broken down into 3 categories here. The travel-related category has 8 cases. Close contact has 4 cases. And there are 13 cases described as under investigation. These do not include the evacuees on Joint Base San Antonio Lackland. Metro Health is clarifying exactly what each of those 3 categories means: travel-related, close contact, and under investigation. The Night Team's Courtney Friedman with the explanation from Metro Health.
A travel-related case means someone got COVID-19 while traveling abroad or domestically. The second category is close contact.
So close contact means you traveled, you became positive, but you've got folks in the house. You've got a spouse, you've got a partner, you've got children, you've got grandma, right? And so if one of those folks become positive.
The third category is under investigation, meaning health officials are still trying to figure out the source of transmission.
And the third category is really that community spread. That's when we start looking at person-to-person transmission without any travel influence.
The investigation into those cases could take a while.
Every positive that we have, we sit down with that person and we do a long interviewing process. At that time, we identify where they've been, who were they in contact with, how long, what's the frequency. It could be one person or it could be 30 people. It just depends on what that exposure level is, will determine how long it takes for us to categorize.
And that was Courtney Friedman reporting. Metro Health says it is working to collect data on each case that it hopes to release to the public in the future.
A shutdown in San Antonio expected as we move towards midnight. Mayor Ron Nirenberg announcing sit-down restaurants and nightlife will shut down at 11:59 tonight. Grocery stores and gas stations will remain open.
It's part of an updated declaration that is in effect for 7 days, but City Council could extend that declaration to 30 days tomorrow. It's a decision that will impact thousands of people and businesses.
The Night Team's Patty Santos live tonight on a stretch of St. Mary's where a lot of bars and other businesses are usually busy on a Wednesday night, Patty.
Yeah, we can tell you it is pretty quiet out here at the St. Mary's Strip tonight. We talked to bar and restaurant owners who say they were bracing for the mayor's announcement, but it doesn't make it easy.
My restaurants will make it. What I'm concerned about is my team.
Lisa Asvestas, owner of the Cove and 5 Points local restaurants, says the closure will impact 100 employees and their families.
In the restaurant industry, people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Starting tonight, bars, gyms, bingo parlors, amusement parks, and other non-essential businesses will go silent. Restaurants will be restricted to drive-up, carry-out, or delivery services.
We're going to grab the bull by the horns, and we're going to do what we can do every day. And that may be every day something different, because every day we're getting new news.
Mayor Ron Nirenberg says he waited as long as he could to make the declaration, knowing it would impact so many.
We've been waiting until it absolutely had to be done. We we care about our neighbors, and there are a lot of neighbors who are going to be affected by this.
But a plan for financial relief, he says, is in the works.
Just today, there was a bill passed in the Senate. There's awaiting the president's signature that would offer things like paid sick time. There are efforts at the state level for pulling down funds that have been passed by Congress. There's going to be work at the local level.
Some owners say they may be able to help with a few paychecks, but the long term is uncertain.
I'm really hoping that what the government says they're going to do, that they're going to step in. I really hope that that's going to happen.
And they're urging local people to support local restaurants by ordering takeout or carry out. Now, again, gas stations and grocery stores are going to remain open. The mayor also encouraging residents to stay home, especially between the hours of 10 o'clock at night and the next morning. Steve?
Thank you, Patty. Bexar County's emergency declaration less restrictive than the city's. Restaurant dining rooms in the county can be open, but are limited to half of the maximum seating occupancy, and tables must be at least 6 feet apart. Parties of more than 6 people will not be allowed at one table. For at least the next 30 days, there will not be any temporary health permit for activities known to attract more than 50 people. Self-quarantine, it's a term you've been hearing a lot about lately, but what exactly does it mean? The Night Team's Japhanie Gray spoke with a UT Health doctor who breaks down the concept of self-quarantine.
If you are at risk of developing the infection because of a prior exposure, I would minimize leaving my home.
That's the advice Dr. Fred Campbell with UT Health San Antonio has for those who are under self-quarantine. It can be voluntary or ordered by Metro Health. People who volunteer to self-quarantine after traveling to certain places don't necessarily have to stay locked up inside their home the entire time.
Most people who have not had a definite exposure to someone who has been positive for COVID-19 can go out and walk their dogs, bike, do other activities that don't involve close contact with other people.
Dr. Campbell did stress the importance of using common sense.
Maybe one family member goes out as seldom as possible to pick up things like food and other needed items, and not have a group or an entire family going out together to do those things.
Dr. Campbell encourages people not to panic should you come in contact with someone under self-quarantine. Just remember to keep your distance.
Social distancing may make the difference between the COVID-19 virus overwhelming our healthcare system in the United States and being able to handle any serious cases that we have.
Japhanie Gray, KSAT 12 News.
A second drive-thru testing site has opened up in San Antonio at Freeman Coliseum. You cannot just drive up to this testing site, though. This is for individuals who have doctor's orders to be tested, first responders, healthcare workers, and via bus drivers. The site can collect 16 tests per hour.
Is COVID-19 airborne? Does it live on surfaces? Two great viewer-submitted questions we asked infectious disease Dr. Ruth Bergeron of the Long School of Medicine at UT Health San Antonio last night on KSAT News at 9. Here's what she had to say.
It's somewhat concerning that this week some researchers have posted online results of a non-peer-reviewed study suggesting that the virus could last for up to 3 hours in the air. So the WHO is considering calling this an airborne virus, and that is online, and you can read about it. What it means for us is not a whole lot different than what we were already doing with our respiratory precautions, but we need to take all of the instructions we've been getting about social distancing extremely seriously.
Adding to that, Dr. Bergeron says the study suggests the virus, which causes COVID-19, could be stable for several hours to days on different surfaces. According to those results posted by the National Institutes of Health, the virus was detectable up to 4 hours on copper, up to 24 hours on cardboard, and up to 2 to 3 days on plastics and stainless steel. To be clear, these results could mean this virus may be acquired through the air and after touching contaminated objects, reinforcing the need to both sanitize your homes, workspaces, and other surfaces and keep your social distance. Now, if you have questions you'd like answered about the coronavirus, you can submit them anytime by visiting KSAT.com and clicking on SAQ under features.
Well, parents forced to turn their homes into classrooms after multiple school districts announced they would extend their closures. Several districts closed until April 3rd. The Night Team's Stephen Cavazos spoke to one family who says they're worried over the changes.
What has that been like for you?
It's strange because it's not in a classroom where you could get help from a teacher or even classmates.
Lanier High School senior Mia Gurton's walk to school was only 5 minutes, but now her home doubles as a high school. The San Antonio Independent School District is one of several districts that announced they would extend their closure until April 3rd. Gurton worries she won't get to experience graduation.
It's a hard feeling to think that you might not be able to walk the stage.
Gurton receives instructions and assignments online, but learning on a phone presents a challenge. She says she has a difficult time downloading assignments.
If I don't get this thing on my phone correctly without the help that I would get at school, I could lose everything that I've worked for.
San Antonio ISD telling KSAT they have 17,000 devices to help with one-on-one learning. Gurton's mother was able to get a hold of a laptop with help from the school.
These kids actually want to be back at school with the rest of their friends.
SAISD says they plan to add to their budget through philanthropic resources to purchase other devices. Northside ISD also helping parents with access to electronics. The announcement made on their Facebook page. Stephen Cavazos, KSAT 12 News.
From having hundreds of volunteers to now just a dozen, the Bluebird auxiliary to Methodist hospitals has taken a hit. That's because directors have had to ask seniors 65 and older to stay home for their own safety. Others are choosing to stay home themselves because of COVID-19.
The idea of potentially risking our wonderful, we call them super seniors, it just made total sense to minimize that.
Marky Lohoff has been a volunteer, an employee, and a volunteer again at Methodist Hospital for more than 20 years. Directors with the program now hoping young people can step up and help. They're looking for new volunteers ages 18 to 64 to give their time. If you'd like to help, you can apply online to be a volunteer at sabluebird.org. We also have a link on our website, ksat.com.
COVID-19 also impacting upcoming elections. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issuing a proclamation giving local governments the ability to postpone their May 2nd elections until November 3rd. Abbott releasing a statement today saying in part, quote, right now the state's focus is responding to COVID-19. By delaying this election, our local election officials can assist in that effort, end quote.
Still ahead on the Nightbeat, an update on our KSAT team member stuck in Argentina, the change in his situation, and when he's now hoping to return home. It's coming up next on the Nightbeat. Well, we have a positive update on one of our KSAT family members. A member of the KSAT tech team, Sebastian Hovel, is stuck in Argentina where he was visiting his family this month. The government there set a mandatory quarantine for anyone visiting Argentina from a country affected by COVID-19. Well, his quarantine ends March 23rd, and he was finally able to book a flight home for that day. He told the Night Team's Courtney Friedman he's hoping that flight won't get canceled.
Backyard, that's where I'm at right now, and there is a pool.
A big upgrade from where we found KSAT employee Sebastian Hovel yesterday, confined to a room in his cousin's house.
My cousin also lives with my aunt and my uncle who are over 65. My aunt has diabetes. So I just was practicing cautionary precautions just to make sure she hadn't had any contact with me, any kind of, complications.
His family was able to move him to an Airbnb where his grandmother often stays. His uncle is staying with him, but keeping a safe distance away.
It's actually going to be getting most of my stuff for the moment being. He's basically my lifeline around here.
Hopefully not for long. His mandated quarantine ends Monday, and he was able to book a flight.
No guarantee that it might actually go out on Monday, but it's the closest thing that they can confirm me on for right now. Things change day to day, hour to hour right now.
He says he's doing better emotionally.
Now I'm starting to kind of wind down a little bit more, realizing that things are out of my control, but I can still, be positive about the situation.
Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
And we will continue to follow Sebastian's journey home. He says although there are more cases here in the U.S. than in Argentina, schools, shopping centers, and a lot of businesses have closed. And there was a 10-day quarantine for the whole country as the government assessed the situation, trying to stop the spread.
Well, the United States and Canada have agreed to shut down the border between the two countries, closing off crossings to allow only what is deemed essential traffic. It is one of several responses the federal government taking to combat COVID-19. We're tracking these latest headlines and more on KSAT.com. Just click on the coronavirus section at the top of our homepage. We should also mention, since we're about to go to weather, that our own Mike Osterhage is self-quarantining because he had a son, one of his sons came in contact with somebody that tested positive for coronavirus. So we wish Mike the best as well.
Yeah, precautionary measure that.
Precautionary measure. He has not tested positive.
Yeah, so we'll keep in touch with him and keep you all updated as well. And there's a live look outside and no rainfall around here. And in light of the recent news that we've had, I wanted to share this photo with you, of course. Start off with this. Lovely bluebonnets in Brenham, Texas. Gorgeous picture there. Nice sign of spring. And I know when you are out and about, you likely take notice of them, especially along the sides of the roads right now. All right, so let's take a look at the radar. I mentioned no rainfall locally. And to be honest with you, there isn't as much action as we anticipated by this time of night, especially farther to the west in Mexico and closer to the Rio Grande. Looks like the atmosphere is just not being able to sustain these showers and really pop them into thunderstorms as they move across the border and then make their trek into the hill country as they dissipate. So a few scattered showers out there, but really not a big deal. Now it's a different story as you get up to the I-20 corridor from Midland eastward all the way to Dallas. This is where we've had some severe thunderstorms and even potentially tornadic thunderstorms throughout the evening and now into the nighttime hours. So this is where the serious situation is for us. We're not looking at anything serious. We're just hoping for some rainfall, and there's a little bit of hope for that tonight. Here's one of our computer models. It does indicate a few of the showers making it into the hill country and even locations west of I-35 by 11 p.m. I do want to point out, I think this is overdoing the situation a little bit too much and brings a few scattered showers possible even closer to the Alamo City around 1 a.m. I think we'd be very lucky if that actually happened. For the most part, I'm anticipating a few sprinkles later tonight and first thing tomorrow morning. But our rain chances do change in the coming days. That's the nice thing. So take a look at our rainfall potential from basically now all the way through Sunday morning. I know it's a pretty big time frame, but Friday and Saturday look like our best chances at rain. We could see 1 to 2 inches in parts of the hill country and South Texas, even around Bexar County, potentially an inch of rain. So it could be a good soaker, particularly Friday and on into Saturday. Notice those rain chances jump Friday to 70% with the cold front. And then Saturday behind that cold front, we're looking at some scattered to widespread activity as well. Temperatures will take a hit though. Right now we're in the 70s, from 72 in Bandera and Comfort to 75 Port SA, Helotes here 71, still hanging on to 80 in Carrizo Springs. But temperatures will be taking a nosedive with that coming cold front. So let's talk about it. Tomorrow morning, 68 degrees, cloudy sprinkles, some sunshine in the afternoon. 84 degrees. So back in the mid 80s again tomorrow, just like what we had today. And then look what happens. Cold front hits on Friday, temperatures fall into the 50s. So from the 80s to the 50s for Friday and Saturday with those off and on showers. Outdoor activities for the kids at home tomorrow because it looks like you may be stuck inside Friday and Saturday.
Tomorrow's the day to do it. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Have we been stuck inside? So thank you so much, Adam.
All right. Well, now we're turning to sports, which is day and age also has a lot to do with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Lakers tonight.
Well, remember the Lakers, the last team they played were the Brooklyn Nets, who now have told us there are 4 players, including Kevin Durant, that tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, what about the Lakers? Have any of them tested positive? Well, today they line up for their COVID-19 test in Los Angeles. We'll have the latest on that. Plus, it looks like Tom Brady is now a Buccaneer. Coming up. The Spurs are one of the last teams to play the Brooklyn Nets before the NBA suspended play, and that has now become an issue since four of the Nets, including Kevin Durant, have tested positive for the coronavirus. In fact, the Lakers' last game before the suspension was announced was against the Nets on March the 10th. And following the conference call last night, all members of the team were tested for COVID-19 today. That occurred this morning at the team's practice facility at 11 a.m. San Antonio time, and now they will be quarantined, the Lakers that is, for 14 days. That has raised questions from the general public as to why the NBA is able to get a hold of these tests while it's been difficult for most everybody else. And an NBA spokesman attempted to explain it this way, that since the players travel more frequently, visit fans more often, that's why there's a need to make sure the athletes are tested to help prevent the spread of the disease. The Spurs are one of the teams that have been notified by the NBA of the 4 positive tests for the Brooklyn Nets since the Spurs played the Nets in Brooklyn on March the 6th, just 4 days before the NBA shutdown. When contacted about the possibility of any team or staff member being tested or quarantined, the Spurs responded with they do not have a statement at this time. Normally, tests for the coronavirus are reserved for those who are showing symptoms, and to our knowledge, no member of the Spurs team or staff has exhibited any of those signs. What happens when the NBA does resume play? That is one of the big questions that is being discussed during the suspension of all the games that started on March the 11th. And at the time, we were told it would continue for a minimum of 30 days. But now most team owners believe the earliest the season can resume will be in June. And when it does, where do you pick up? There were 19 games left on the Spurs' regular season schedule as they were 4 games back of the Memphis Grizzlies for the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. If league does decide to play some regular season games for the playoffs, you can bet it won't be a full schedule, and that would lead the Spurs out of the postseason for the first time in 23 years. There's also talk of resuming the season with the playoffs, and even at that, shortening postseason series to just 5 games before the NBA Finals. Just about anything is on the table right now. Since there will be no tournament time in college basketball and the regular season has been canceled as well, the Associated Press issued its final top 25 rankings. That had the Baylor Bears finishing at number 5 after holding the top ranking for a bit this season. Here's a look at the best of the final college basketball rankings here. We'll do the top 10 first. Kansas, Gonzaga, Dayton, Florida, and Baylor at number 5, followed by San Diego State, Creighton, Kentucky, Michigan, and Villanova. Houston checks in at number 22.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
Tom Brady is head of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 6-time Super Bowl champion officially has agreed to a contract that will pay him $30 million this season. Now, that's after TB12 thanked the Patriot fans for his 20-year run in New England, a first for a quarterback in the NFL. Now at 42, the 4-time Super Bowl MVP is hoping to lead the Bucs to their second ever Super Bowl championship, their first since 2002. Meantime, the Jacksonville Jaguars have decided to trade Nick Foles of the Chicago Bears for a conditional 4th-round draft pick. That's after the Jags gave Foles the most guaranteed money in franchise history just 1 year ago. That still has 3 years and $21 million guaranteed left. According to ESPN, the Jaguars have to absorb over $18 million in 2020. And after cutting Blake Bortles last March, that totals to over $35 million in what is called dead money the past 2 seasons. After losing defensive lineman Robert Quinn to the Bears, quarterback Byron Jones to the Miami Dolphins, and Jason Witten, Malik Collins, and Jeff Heath to the Las Vegas Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys were able to pick up a player during free agency. In the wake of losing Quinn to a 5-year, $70 million deal, the Cowboys have signed Carolina free agent Gerald McCoy to a 3-year deal worth $20 million. That's after he started every game on the defensive line for the Panthers last year, following a 9-year run in Tampa Bay. But the 32-year-old only had 5 sacks last season. The United Soccer League expanding their shutdown that affects San Antonio FC. Next. Our San Antonio Missions are supposed to open their season on April the 9th at home at the Wolf, but AAA baseball, like Major League Baseball, is on hold. That's after the baseball commissioner canceled the remaining spring training season due to the coronavirus and now has agreed to postpone the start of the regular season, now pushed back at least until May. How is this affecting the Missions?
We're really kind of at the mercy of when the Major League Baseball schedule starts. And, they sent everybody home from spring training last week. And, this is a sport that you really got to ramp up to. Baseball, the pitchers need some time to get their arms ready to go for the season. So, depending how long they're, not at spring training, it's going to keep setting us back.
The United Soccer League just announced today they're extending their 30-day suspension of their season, which affects, of course, San Antonio FC from 30 days now to May the 10th at the earliest, to align with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention for restricting public gatherings of 50 people or more. So just like in news, in the world of sports, this is also an evolving story that just changes pretty much on an hourly basis. So we'll keep you up to date every day.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
We'll be right back. Random acts of kindness are popping up as the nation deals with the coronavirus. In a Colorado neighborhood, one person dressed as Mr. Incredible ran from house to house and left roses on everyone's porch. It was all captured on a neighbor's camera. That neighbor says it brought a smile to her face, so she shared it in hopes that it would uplift spirits for everyone.
Way to go, Mr.
Yeah.
Incredible. That does it for the Night Beat. Don't forget, Good Morning San Antonio starts at 4:30.
Good night.